Alright guys, this is the first how-to video I'm doing for this project. I've been meaning to do this video for a long time. The more I see people putting up comments asking how this is done, etc., I'm pretty much going to do how-to videos to get to the point where I'm at, so that if I ever disappear by the government or whatever, you can see how I've got so far. So yeah, I'm Fulci666, as you probably have guessed, and today I'm going to introduce you a bit to my setup. As well as that, we are going to be looking at how the DNS stuff all works. So see if the blog's got the picture still. So as we can see, we've seen some sort of DNS examples been set up, well, shown to you, but I don't think I've shown you how to do it. We've got some domain names here which will more than likely come in handy. We've got the DNS problem and solution, and we've got our activity diagram. So hopefully this video should cover everything that's needed to solve DNS problem, the first problem for the Outbreak project. So I'm going to leave you to read through some of these past entries in the blog so you can get up to speed, but I'm going to show you first a quick diagram for how all this works. This may look a bit confusing to you at the moment, but let me explain some things. So laptop is the thing I'm currently recording on. The laptop is my server running, and you'll see all that coming soon. That's where all the magic happens. We've got the PS2, just a standard PS2, which is networked to as standard. It's just normal network configuration. It's set for one piece, which I'll explain in a sec. Internet service provider, you can consider this like your BT Home Hub or your Netgear router or whatever stuck at the end. This is your gateway to the external network, and we have the Sony DNS server going on. So let's talk about this. The DNS server, all that stuff is untouched. This is a genuine DNS server which we will be using. We're not creating our own, we're not spoofing anything with that. We're using a genuine DNS server. Your internet service provider is going to be your gateway to your internet, so this will be your Netgear router or whatever. But let's talk about the configuration for all this. With the PlayStation 2, I have got mine currently networked to my gateway, so it uses a normal IP address. It uses a normal gateway address. So say for example this ISP was our Netgear router, and this was 192.168.1.1. just whacking in some figures here to make it easier for you. Our PlayStation 2, the gateway that it's going to be directed to is going to be this value, but the DNS server for the PlayStation 2, we want it to point at my laptop. Being said that, if it was pointing to the ISP, so it was using the DNS server provided by the ISP, it'll treat everything going external to it. The ISP does not know anything about the existence of my laptop or the existence of a DNS server running on this laptop. So if the PlayStation 2 asks what is the address for google.com, PS2 would go straight to your ISP. The ISP would go find it for you, tell the PlayStation 2. But that's not what we want. What we want to be doing is almost tricking the PlayStation 2. So we have the PlayStation 2, the DNS server points to the laptop, so say it's 192.168.1.100. The DNS server which the PlayStation 2 will connect to is the laptop. So with that, the laptop can tell it what addresses Google is going to be at. So it could tell it any old thing. So the PlayStation 2 directs its DNS requests to the laptop tells it, and then the PlayStation 2 can just connect to it through the ISP or what have you. So in essence, what we're doing is we're doing some DNS spoofing, where the PlayStation 2 sends the request to the laptop. The laptop contains its own DNS records to tell the PlayStation 2. The trick with this as well is there's a feature in DNS servers called DNS forwarding, where if you imagine a DNS server as a phone book, if a DNS server does not have a record for the address you're looking for, it can say, okay, we'll go check with a neighbouring DNS server, we'll go forward this request on to another DNS server to see if they have an idea what the address is. So with the PlayStation 2, it could ask, what is google.com? If my laptop does not have a DNS record for google.com, it can go to the ISP and ask it. And this is where the trick is with the domain names for the Resident Evil server. So for example, this stuff and this stuff, as these no longer exist anymore on this, we can create our own records for these and point them anywhere we like. So when the PlayStation 2 asks where is app01.reo.whatever, the laptop could say, well, that's somewhere else. That could even be the laptop itself. You want to connect to me, you don't want to go any further. So that's the DNS kind of cool stuff going on. So that the forwarding is mainly used for the DNS stuff, because we still want to use this, we still want to use the proper address for this. But when it comes to these addresses, we want to be using our laptop. So hopefully all that makes sense. Anybody got any questions about that, can let me know. But yeah, there should be more information put around the blog posts. So this is the current setup. We've got the PlayStation 2 connected to our gateway. We've got the laptop connected to the gateway. The PlayStation 2 sends DNS requests to the laptop, and the laptop can tell the PS2 where to go. And yeah, that's the core bit. So how does the laptop tell which addresses PlayStation 2 can go to? Well, it needs a DNS server. And DNS service is a feature commonly found with server operating systems. So I'm not sure whether Windows 7's got it. I doubt it though. Might be in some cool edition of Ultimate maybe, but this is just a home premium version of Windows 7. But if you're running Linux, that typically has a lot of DNS services easily to install. Same with if you had a Windows Server operating system, you can set DNS up pretty quick with that. So what I have got is I've got Windows Server 2003 running in virtual machine. So adds another layer of complexity to my setup, but I could easily be running Server 2003 as a dual booted OS, or I could be running Linux. I simply chose 2003 because it's simple at that, and I've got a license to use 2003. So with VM Player is free for me to use, provides me enough to get me started playing around with this setup. So if you are new to Windows Server 2003 or to any server operating system, my suggestion is to use Server 2003 or Server 2008 if you've got valid licenses. Otherwise you're going to have to go with the Linux route. For the demonstration I'll show you 2003 because it's easy. with VM Player, it's very quick to install. All you need is the CD or an ISO license. You can stick it in, VM Player will go install it, update it all, etc, etc, and then eventually you get your virtual machine. So let's just log in. Cool, so this is like an everyday operating system for me. Looks just like Windows XP, but it's 2003. When you first install Server 2003, you'll have this window pop up. This is manage your server roles stuff. This is to do with installing what features Server 2003 can do. So if you wanted to add IIS or web server, you can do that through here. If you wanted to add, say for example, a DNS server, it's what you do. So you typically go to add or remove a role. Yes, you need your CD, you can select your role, you select all the features, examples, etc. So your DHCP server, whatever. There's plenty of documentation out there on the internet to show you how to install DNS server. There's plenty of books, tutorials, so I'm not going to spend my time telling you how to do that. But when you've got that, you've got your DNS server role here, and you need to manage it. This is where you can find examples, but for our case we need to set some records, some specific records for the Outbreak server. So going back to these, our domain names, these are hard coded into the DVDs. There's different domain names for the Japanese version, same with the UK, more than likely for the American version as well. And what we need to do is we need to add records for these to point somewhere else. So if we're referring back to our diagram, at the moment if the PlayStation 2 it asked the laptop, there's no records, so it'd go talk to the ISP, the ISP would try and find it, there isn't a record for it, so it says it can't be found. On a side note, you'll also need to set up DNS forwarding for the server role, because I don't believe it comes on standard. Let's just see if I can find it here. It's been a while since I've done any server work, so yeah, there'll be somewhere to do with forwarding, DNS forwarding and whatnot. But yeah, you need to set up DNS forwarding so your requests get sent to the ISP if you don't have a record for the laptop. But for that we need to add roles. We need to add records for our domain names. So we've got some records here. We've got the kddi.mbb.jp and sf.yav4 going on, and this is what they look like. So a record is simply the domain, the application name, and the address pointing to. So let's have a look. This DNS server, now any request going to it looking for the address www.01.kddi-mmbb.jp will point to this IP address. Strangely enough is the IP address of the server. Just to prove it, so our IP address is 0.15. So any records, so if the PlayStation 2 asked can I connect to this address, my laptop will tell the PlayStation 2 you need to connect to this IP address, which happens to be this server. It's the same with this, which is the UK domain names. So you've got the app and Snap, they all point to the same one because I want them all to point to my laptop. So let's just update this. Five. So, in essence, when we want the PlayStation 2 to connect to our private server, we want to connect into the laptop. Otherwise, if it's anything else, we want it to go straight to the ISP, DNS server, or whatever it needs to go to. So, we've got all this setup going on. We've got our records here. It's very easy to add a new record. So you just go to add new host. You type in www.01.mycapcom, whatever the domain name is found in the disk. You can add an IP address then, and then when the PlayStation 2 sends a DNS server request, it will ask the laptop. The laptop tells it you want to connect to 192.168.1.5, so the laptop will go attempt to connect to it. At this current stage, you try and do this, you're not going to get very far, because granted you've got these DNS records pointing to your Windows server, but the problem being is you do not have a web server actively open for it to connect to. So it's all good saying yes, come connect to this machine here, but if there's nothing running on the HTTP port or the HTTPS port on this server, it'll connection fail. So I'm not sure whether this is running now, but let's just show you now. 192.168.1.5. Doesn't look like anything's running. Localhost. Yeah, so it would fail because my HTTP server is not running as of yet, and that's where video 2 will start coming into play. This is where we talk about WebLogic server and getting that run on the right ports. You could probably do it with IIS. You could add an IIS web server and get it to connect to that, but I'm not a big fan of IIS. I'm not really a big fan of Windows server, but simplicity, it's easy to set up the DNS records like this. So, in essence, it's all we've done is we've just rigged up our own private little DNS server running on Windows Server 2003 on my laptop. We've got the PlayStation 2 sending its DNS server request to the laptop, and it simply connects to the laptop when it requires the Capcom funky domain name stuff going on. You could have easily done this with Linux, but granted, I attempted to do it and I got stuck 20 minutes in trying to learn the DNS server configurations, because it's a lot more command line stuff. You might find an easy one somewhere, but it's whatever you fancy. So you can test this if it's running correctly by doing the following. I go to Control Panel and I go to Network Connections, my local connection, Properties, TCP/IP. Okay, my virtual machine, Server 2003, its preferred DNS server is it's pointing to itself, which is cool. So with that being said, any DNS server requests it wishes, it will ask this DNS server, and this DNS server will either provide them the answer or it will forward the request on. So let's just test this. For example, I said ping ping 01.168.1.5. kddi-mmbb.jp. Notice how we are pinging 192.168.1.5, so we're pinging ourselves. If we did this external to the virtual machine, so cmd, this is outside, this is in Windows Server, not Windows 7, so ping www.01.kddi-mmbb.jp. it will fail because my Windows 7 machine is not pointing its DNS server requests at Windows Server 2003. It's just simply pointing directly to the ISP, so it cannot find it. Just go to show you now. Internet network connections. Why do I keep changing these? So this was a lot easier back in the day before they started messing about with all this stuff. So properties, IP4. So it's not going to be pointing its DNS. So yeah, the DNS server is pointing out, it's not pointing at my 192.168.1.5. If I told it to do so now, 192.168.1.5, close you, hopefully hopefully we now ping my Windows Server 2003 box. So as you can see, I've managed to spoof the request. So instead of it now connecting directly to my ISP, it's going to ask my Windows Server 2003 for the correct address for www.01.kddi stuff. Hopefully this has been interesting, or at least beneficial to all y'all. Please let me know if it didn't make any sense, or if you want me to clarify anything. Questions are highly appreciated. Thank you very much for all your support, by the way. You've done magnificent. Especially those like Cat, great big help. Let's see who else I can give a good shout out to. Fatal Fox, you're cool. KRECAO, you're cool. Rusk, Resfan, Unknown, you're cool, Unknown. Billy, all you guys, you're just brilliant. Outbreak supporter, you've been there from the very beginning. Cloud, yeah man. Cheers, thank you very much for all your help with all this. Couldn't have expected any more. Just fantastic. So keep watching. Hopefully I can do better videos than this. This has been completely on the fly, so I've probably got a lot of things wrong, but yeah, hopefully you've found it cool, and I should get to you soon with the WebLogic setup and setting up the SSL traffic to get it to do almost a hello world to your PlayStation 2. So cheers guys, take care.